IT person. So hello, everybody. I'm Lori Anderson with Green Adventures, and tonight's webinar is all about the Idaho trip down the Salmon River, the rafting trip. And I can see that some of you are already signed up for this trip. That's awesome. And a few that have ventured here because you're curious, and that is awesome as well. We will try to get your questions answered tonight. And first of all, thank you for your time. We appreciate that. We'll try to keep this within the hour. If you have any questions along the way, put them in the chat and we will get those answered towards the end of this webinar. All right, we can move on here a second. There we go. Before we start talking about Idaho, just a quick little blurb about all the other destinations that we go to. You can see that we have many that are stateside and international, and there's a few new trips in there. New since maybe the last time you were on a webinar is we have a trip to Greenland. We have a trip to Peru. We have a group that just got back from Patagonia. And one of our Tanzania trips climbs Kilimanjaro. That's new. But anyway, take a peek at all of those. Oh, another new one coming up this year is a trip to Canada to see the polar bears that are in Churchill, Canada. But anyway, so check the website often. You never know what Tara's coming up with, and it's been a lot of exciting things. All right, our agenda for tonight is we'll talk all about the Idaho trip, why Idaho. We'll show you the team that's all involved. We'll go over our itinerary quickly, all about the campsite. We have some frequently asked questions. But before we do that, let's start with some introductions. So if one by one you could unmute yourself. Christine, I'm going to pick on you first because I see that you hit your microphone. So if you can give us a quick introduction, where you're from, if you've done other Green Adventures trips.
Yeah. So I'm Christine. I'm from Massachusetts, and I was actually on Tara's first trip in her business down in Baja, Mexico, and I've probably traveled with her probably about 8 or so trips at least. And I did go on the most recent Greenland trip, which was absolutely fantastic. That's where I met Lori, and I saw you were leading this trip, and I thought, can only be a great adventure. So I'm here I've already signed up, so I'm hoping it happens.
Awesome.
I don't know if you need what your minimum number is and if we're there yet, but yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks. And thanks for that shout out. I think we're at 7 that are booked, and that's got to be close. That's got to be close. So okay. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. This will confirm. Okay, we'll go right on down the line. Deborah.
Hi there, I'm Deborah. I'm from Pennsylvania. I have been on, I think, 3 Green Adventures trips thus far, Roatan, Trinidad, and the Florida Manatees. So, and I've met Lori on at least 2 of them.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm also already signed up and looking forward to it. Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome. Kathy.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Kathy, I live in Granbury, Texas, and I've been on a couple of trips with Lori, and it's been wonderful. So a group of us decided to get together and go again.
Awesome. Welcome back.
Uh-huh.
Tamara's at a restaurant. Do you want to talk? You can, it's up to you. Oh, we lost her.
Oh,
there she is.
there I am.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Tamara. I went on one Green Adventure tour to Iceland with Lori and some other ladies that are joining us this time around.
Awesome. Welcome.
I'm from Fort Worth, Texas.
Awesome. Christine.
Hi, Christine. Let's see. Currently in Wisconsin. Just moved from Chicago. Been on Alaska, Iceland, and Costa Rica. So not confirmed for this one. Just want to learn more about Idaho.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Great. Thanks for joining us tonight. Desiree.
Yes. Hey,
Hey, hi. Give us a
Hey.
give us a quick intro. Where you're from and what green adventure trips you've been on before.
I am from Texas and I have been to Iceland and Alaska.
Awesome. Welcome back. I'd say
Thank you.
I'd say great to see you again, but I'm not seeing a picture, but you know, I can see
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, just envision beauty.
Awesome. And then last but not least, Carrie. Oh, Carrie, you're still on mute. Carrie, we can't hear
I
you.
got it.
There,
Did I
there
get
she
it?
is. There
Oh
she
my
is.
gosh, it finally came up. I'm from Texas too. I've been on 3 trips with y'all, Alaska, Iceland, and Baja. And it was just so much fun. And with my little group, we got 5 in our group, so it's great.
Perfect. Great to see you guys again. That Texas group, they're kind of like all related somehow, or very close friends. There's
Very-
there's a flow chart somewhere. I remember that.
Yes, you did a great job with it.
Okay, anyway, yeah, thanks so much everybody for those quick introductions. I'm Lori. I have been on a number of Green Adventures trips as a participant, just like you. I think the number is at 18 or something like that. And I've led 15 trips. You know, obviously I love them all. I'll answer as many questions as I can about other trips while we're floating down the river, if you have any. But anyway, tonight we're here to talk about Idaho. And let's see what we got. All right, here's the team that'll be with you the whole week. I've already introduced myself. Bill owns the outfitter team that we're with. We travel with Agapa, and he has lived around and grown up around this area and has been running this river for, I don't know the exact number of years, but decades. I mean, the history that he knows, he's just a wealth of knowledge. He was one of our outfitters last year. I don't know yet who exactly which members of his teams will be with us this year, but he has a excellent group no matter which outfitters that he brings along. The next gal on this picture is Bev, and she has been working with Bill for a long time, and she's one of the most strongest, inspiring women I have ever met. So she has a great story to tell as well. And then that last picture is a new gal that was working with them as an outfitter. Her name is Tegan. Again, I'm not sure if she'll be with us this coming year or not. But again, we love stories about strong women. And the fun thing about this trip is you're floating down the river with these guys is they love to hear your story as much as we love to hear their stories. So you will find you'll have plenty of time to get to know all of these guys. They will be your friends by the time the trip is over. All right, we're going to quickly go through the day-by-day itinerary and what this trip is all about. Here's just a few pre-shot or pre-itinerary pictures, and we'll go through them one at a time. Day 1 arrival, we ask everybody to fly into Boise, Idaho. If you're driving, if by chance you're driving, you may drive straight to Salmon. That has happened in a couple of years that people have driven to Salmon and then we meet them there. But for those arriving in Boise, we stay very close to the airport. The hotel is within walking distance, easy to get to. We go out that night for dinner. Sometimes people will come in a few days early and take in the sights around Boise. There's a lot to see in that city as well. Day 2. Day 2 is kind of fun. We take this little prop plane flight from Boise into the small town of Salmon. It's oh, I forget what the flight time is, like hour and a half or something like that. And so depending on the size of our group, we may be in 1 plane or 2 planes. They're tiny prop planes, and the pilot makes all the decision of who sits where because it's all based on weight. And if you've looked ahead on the packing list or anything like that, or the instructions for packing, you'll see that there's, you know, very tight restrictions on like no wheeled luggage. It has to be a soft duffel, a weight restriction, things like that. Because those soft duffels have to fit inside these small prop planes, and weight is something, they're just figuring that out like a matrix, like a puzzle of how much weight can go into each plane. But anyway, so we have this exciting little flight from Boise over to Salmon, and we fly over the mountains. In past years, if there are forest fires happening out there, we can see those from the plane, or we see a lot of lakes that are up in the mountains, a few homes that are up there, but just a absolute stunning, picturesque flight over the mountainside to get us over to the little town of Salmon. Day 3. Okay, day 3. We are only at this hotel in Salmon for one night, and you have the opportunity there to go within walking distance is their main street, and there's like a grocery store, a couple grocery stores. There's a liquor store. If you want to get additional snacks, if you want to get additional beverages that you like to drink along the way. Of course, the outfitters provide all sorts of food and beverages. But if you have something favorite that you want to bring along, they have all of the accommodations to store that, coolers, etc. So you will have time when we fly into Salmon that afternoon to do a little bit of shopping before we meet for dinner. And then before dinner, the outfitters come by and introduce themselves, and they hand off to each one of us one of those big blue dry bags that you see all piled up there. For the trip, we all get assigned a large dry bag and a small dry bag. And at the end of the trip, then they pick them back up again. And they'll have detailed instructions of how to use these. But in a nutshell, your duffel goes inside this larger dry bag, along with your sleeping bag and your sleeping mat. And so that gets packed up on the raft every morning before we head back down the river. And we don't touch any of that until we land again at the end of the day, unload it, and set up camp. On that first day, this picture that's off to the left, we have the opportunity to stop alongside the river. We take a short little walk. I won't even call it a hike. It's a walk up to where these pictographs are painted on the side of the canyon walls. And the outfitters give you the history behind it. And it's just an incredible thing to see firsthand, and start to learn some of the history of the various Indian tribes that lived at various times in this wilderness area. The picture off to the right is us launching on the very first day, loading up all the rafts. This is our introduction to what that life is all about, and loading everything up, and off we go. All right. Day 4. The Salmon River is also called the River of No Return, which sounds ominous. And I won't go any further into what that definition means, because that's part of what we also learn along the way. But anyway, it's known as the River of No Return. We're in the Frank Church Wilderness area. It's a huge area that's been set aside, and the scenery is spectacular at every turn. On this day, we also have the opportunity to take a, I'll call it a scramble, up the side of one of these hills, mountain foothills of the mountains, up to this hot spring that is there. And we're in swimsuits every day anyway. We'll start out with swimsuits, and you'll probably be layered up in the morning or whatever. But come on up to the hot springs, peel those layers off. Everybody jumps in. That's a big enough little hot spring to fit quite a few people. Probably last year we had 16 people on the trip, and I'm going to say we were all in there at one time. Yeah, it's a pretty good sized little hot spring. But that's a scramble up. It's not a clear path. You're scrambling along the rocks, but it's doable. All right, day 5. There are many, many women that have a huge part of the history of getting this area settled. And we're going to hear their stories throughout the trips. our outfitters are experts on knowing all of their stories. So these are two of the women here. Frances in the upper corner, she's no longer with us, but her story, her legacy is just known throughout this whole area. She was somewhat of a historian, wrote many, many articles for the local papers, a bit of a firecracker. And we will also be stopping at her homestead and seeing her house and learning more about her. The woman on the bottom is Polly Bemis, who was a Chinese woman that was brought over to the U.S. And she has an interesting story as well. But she lived along the Salmon River for many, many, many years, and we'll also be stopping at her homestead. If time permits, there's a, it's not only time permits, it's more if the conditions are right. We stop at a couple that is living at one of the ranches currently. They have lived there for about 30 some years. And the people that live along this river, they're living off grid. Okay, there's not, our standard electricity along here. They have solar panels and things like that. But they are primarily living off grid, and they have an amazing story to tell as well. All right. Day 6. We stop at Buckskin Bill's. He's an eccentric character that lived along here, and they're as always, there's a great story behind Buckskin Bill. And what is built here now is a little bit of a museum to his whole life. There's a video to watch. There's a lot of different artifacts. Also his little home, gardens. There's a gift shop there. This is a great place to stop with this gift shop because you get the opportunity to get a root beer float. And it just seems like magic, like you're out in the middle of nowhere and all of a sudden you can get a root beer float. And he also sells beer and soda and t-shirts and, various things like that. So it's kind of a nice little break in that aspect as well. Most of the time we are going to be in these rafts together. And in the rafts that we're going down the river, we're not doing any of the paddling on those. The outfitters do all of that work, and you'll see that they don't use paddles. The rafts are taken down river by oars, and the outfitters, they're doing all of that work. But we have the opportunity numerous times throughout the trip to, if you want to try out kayaking, they have these inflatable kayaks that are with us all the time. And the outfitters know the stretch of the river if it's a good spot to kayaking, or they'll say, you know what, let's wait until the afternoon. We know we're in a better stretch. And there are, for people who are beginner kayakers, there are areas where the river is slower and calmer, and you may want to try kayaking then. For those who are more experienced in kayaking, there have been people that have been on these inflatable kayaks and they run through the rapids on them as well. So that's all up to you and the outfitters. If you want to try the inflatable kayaking, they have all of the gear. They have the helmets and all the gear that you need to do that. And that's a fun thing that people like to take advantage of. Whoops. There we go. There we go. Okay, here's a few pics of Polly Bemis's homestead. And we get out here, walk around, and you get to see exactly where she lived and the little house that she lived in, hear her story in detail. And the caretakers that keep this place maintained. You can see there's some chickens around there. Pretty sure last year we saw some pigs as well. So it's another good stop. Every day we stop along the way and learn about someone who has lived along the river or see something that we know is there. Every day we also stop for lunch, and the outfitters, they'll find a beach that they know is good for setting up the tables. They set up a picnic lunch, and we have a great lunch, a riverside. Day 8 is the final 3 rapids, and we get out near a town called Riggins, and then we drive to McCall, and that's the end of our adventure on the river. Day 9, we are in McCall for one night. We'll have a nice dinner again in McCall. And then that morning we have a bus ride that takes us back to Boise and gets you back to your hotel. Okay, this is in general what the campsite looks like. The outfitters supply all of the tents. If you have your own tent, you're more than welcome to bring it. But if not, they have tents available. They also have available the sleeping pads, and they rent the sleeping bags if you don't want to pack and carry a sleeping bag. The fee to rent the sleeping bag is pretty reasonable. I don't have this year's in front of me, but I want to say it was something like $15, something like that. It's very, very reasonable. And they give us a lesson in the first night at camp of how to set up the tents. You know, don't worry that you have to come, you know, experienced with how to do all of that. And every tent is a little bit different. And so they give us a little tutorial. And of course, you know, we help each other out as we go along. So every time we land at a beach at night, the first thing that we do is form a what we call a fire line and help unload the rafts. The rafts hold everything we need for the entire week. Okay, so there will most likely, along with the rafts that we are all sitting on and traveling down the river, there's also will be one raft that contains even more supplies, because when they set up for dinner each night, that's the third picture on your screen there, they set up tables, they set up their tablecloths, there's foldable chairs, there's a whole area that'll be set up as a kitchen. The outfitters do all of the cooking, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can see it absolutely looks, I'm pretty sure those are that's eggs, that's a breakfast right there. I think it's like hollandaise, looks like. But anyway, you will not be disappointed by the food, and you will probably be very surprised by the food that they are able to make along the river. I am not a cook. You should be very glad that I'm not the cook on this trip, because we would have like hot dogs and hamburgers every night. That would be it. That would be all that I would be capable of. So, but the outfitters, the different meals that they planned are absolutely amazing. You will not go hungry. There's coffee every morning. There's wine with dinner every night. And there also is available water. Fresh water is available all along the trip as well. Okay, so I covered tents. I covered the cooking. This picture that's way off to the left, that is called a groover, like Groover, groover. And that's our bathroom at campsite every night. They, again, the outfitters take care of setting this up. It's a very heavy metal square canister that is fitted then with a standard toilet seat. And then this narrow tent is put over it. They pick the spot that it's in at our various campsites every night. Last year, if you were in the groover, you had a beautiful view of the river about 20 feet from your feet. It was amazing and interesting. But anyway, so that's the groover. The most questions we get are usually about the groover, but in no time at all, you figure it out, and there's a whole system in place to know if it's occupied or if it's available. We use a paddle from one of the kayaks, and that's just the marker. If the paddle's missing, it's up by the groover. That means somebody there. Wait your turn. As you come back to set the paddle down, they have set up a washing station with a little pump and water to wash your hands. It is just efficient beyond beyond imagination what the outfitters have all come up with to keep the camp running smoothly. So that's the groover. The groover will become your friend. All right.
Christine wants to know if the tents are single or double occupancy.
There are both. Most of them are double occupancy, but I believe you can ask for a single tent. And there are oftentimes, weather permitting, people also ask, can I just sleep outside? And you can. You can like have a mat and lay on a mat over the sand and then just sleep outside. Yeah, but there are both styles of tents, both single and double. The tents are very, very nice, and they set up very quickly. And the sleeping mats that they have are the type that are self-inflating. So you just unscrew the nozzle on one end. And what I usually do is, like, I unpack that first, lay it all out, unscrew the nozzle, and let it start inflating while I'm getting the rest of my tent organized. You know, my duffel in a corner, you know, kind of organized for what I need. Have the light handy, you know, for lighting the tent at night. I use one of those Luminate lanterns. If I were smart, I would have had that right with me for this. That just lights my tent up at night and early in the morning. But they are very easy to set up, and they're very easy to take down. Okay, because we are constantly on the move. Okay, we start out, we move down the river, we make camp. In the morning, we break camp, take everything on down, and we move on down the river. So over the course of these 5 nights on the river, we are moving 80 miles down the river. Okay, we're never in the same spot twice, obviously. Okay, and where we stop is at the discretion of the outfitters. They know all of these beaches have different names, and they know what size beach we need, you know, by the number of people that are on our trip. And then they know which beaches are larger. And so then they set their sights on getting to those sites at the end of the day. And so we can get our camp set up. And again, everybody helps to unload everything from the rafts. And as soon as it's unloaded, then we can take our duffels and find a place to pitch your tent. Everybody gets that set up while the outfitters are working on getting dinner set up for us that night. And they'll give us a call when that's ready. And we have a great, relaxing dinner. Okay, frequently asked questions, dry bags, prop plane, and more. I will talk a little bit about the dry bags. They seem to generate the most confusion until you get to see them and you see how it all works. And again, they provide us with 2 different sizes. You can see that picture on the right is me holding my larger dry bag. And I'm goofing around like being strongman because for 3 years in a row, I had the heaviest bag. And so like, you know, they're all numbered, and they, you know, we'd have this fire line to get them moved off of the rafts, and it'd be like, oh, who's number 7? You know, and I was like bound and determined last year that I was not going to have the heaviest duffel bag. But anyway, so because everything goes in there, your duffel, your sleeping bag, your sleeping pad, and then a smaller dry bag. And I don't think there's not one in these pictures right now, but a smaller dry bag that goes with you every day on the raft right at your feet. And that contains anything that you may need during the day. You're going to have your water bottle with you every day. You may decide to bring along a good camera. You may have medicine that you need to take during the day. You may have, it's a place for layers of clothing. The mornings can be cool because we're down in a canyon. So the mornings can be cool. And then we'll, as the day progresses, you're going to take these layers off. And the smaller dry bag gives you a place to store all of the any layers that you may have. Okay, we have a question in here. Will the duffel bag from Greenland fit into the dry bag? I am going to say yes. I haven't actually measured it, but just from memory, that is slightly smaller than the duffel that I was using that's in this picture. So I am like 99% sure, yes, the duffel that we had in Greenland will fit into that bag. Yeah, and our packing list includes, like, you know, the size of duffels, you know, etc. This blue, well, and last year they were red, the color doesn't matter, but they're big. I mean, you can see how big they are with us standing next to them. Okay, they're big. But you also, you know, they don't have any give to them. They're super heavy duty, you know, plastic, right? Or whatever they're made out of. And so you don't want your duffel so overfilled that you are wrestling with this like a madman, every morning and every night. Okay. I say that from experience. Like I'd be like, I am packing lighter next year. Okay. But you'll get the routine down on the duffels. Okay. And those larger duffels, again, they'll get loaded on typically on the raft that has the most supplies for the outfitters as well. And they load these on the rafts, they cover them with tarps, they tie them down with big ropes. Everything on the raft as we launch is attached and nothing loose. Even the small dry bags that'll be at our feet, we'll have carabiners and we'll attach them to the ropes that are on the rafts. Okay. Because the river is a series of still water and rapids and calmer water and rapids. And you're jostled around a lot going over those rapids. Okay. Prop plane, we already went over that a little bit. And we already talked about the groover a little bit as well. The other thing that they'll tell you about the groover is you are encouraged to pee in the river. Okay. The outfitter, the quote I've heard from him is the solution to pollution is dilution. Okay. And we do not, on some of our trips, like in Tanzania, Uganda, if we are not near a restroom, if we're out on safari and someone needs to use nature's toilet, we can, pee right behind the safari vehicle. But on this trip, like not in the woods, not in our beach area, nothing like that. And so we are all encouraged to pee in the river, and then the groover is used for solids. Okay. Any questions? That's
This
a
is
great.
Desiree. Oops, I'm sorry. I didn't find out how to write the question and be, anyway, may I just ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
I know weather can change, but what is the typical weather during the day? And then you said it gets cool at night.
Yeah, I don't have temperature guidelines for you off the top of my head, but we can go by like what we're wearing in this pic, okay? So or a typical morning, in a typical day, I put on my swimsuit every day wear a swimsuit, because you are going to get splashed as we go over these rapids, okay? The water can come right over everybody. Okay, depending upon how we hit these various rapids. Sometimes we can go through the rapids and, no water gets splashed at all, but sometimes you can get soaking wet. And so I usually start out with my swimsuit and then a pair of shorts. And you can see I've got on a rash guard shirt there. And then I usually also start out with rain pants and a rain jacket, like a lightweight pair of rain pants and rain jacket. And I do that just because those first rapids early in the morning, when it's still, cool in the canyon, that can be awfully chilly. Okay. That could be pretty chilly. And so then I just wear a rain suit, and, by the time we stop for lunch, I'm peeling that off. Okay. So, and we get, like you can see this beautiful bluebird sunny days. I look back on pictures from other trips, and sometimes everybody's just like down to their swimsuits in the rafts all day long. It all just depends, the weather unpredictable, but that's why part of why our packing list does have so many, variety of clothes on, so you can layer, you can be prepared for whatever you may need. And those smaller dry bags, they're big enough to hold a couple layers, to hold your layers in there. So because we don't want you uncomfortable. Okay.
Okay, Lori, are you there?
I am.
Okay, so when we were on the Grand Canyon raft trip, we had neoprene socks and like water sandals, keep our feet warm. Is that what we need to do? What do you need on your feet?
Yeah, you do want some sort of water sandal, water shoe, and I think neoprene socks. I don't have the packing list right in front of me. They are on that list. I'm not sure if they're on there as optional or essential. Okay. A lot of times that's a personal preference with the neoprene socks. I do carry them. I do have them on there. Because they're also good for just keeping that super chill off your feet. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think also on the packing list, you'll see there are like neoprene gloves. That's only needed for people who think they might want to do the kayaking and you know, if the same thing, if you want that to keep the chill off your hands, okay? So I'm pretty sure the gloves are on there as well as mentioned that way. Okay.
Gotcha.
Yep, I think I have one pair of neoprene socks that I have along for the whole week. You know, take them off at night, hope that they dry overnight. If not, they're a little chilly, but it still keeps the chill of the water off, right? But you can see in this picture too, you know, a bunch of the gals are down to t-shirts, you know, beautiful sunny day. And we probably stopped here, I think before noon. I think before noon.
Okay.
Okay, there was a question in the chat as well, I think.
About weight limits
Oh
for
yeah,
the
well the
prop plane.
oh yeah, is there a bag weight limit due to the prop planes? Yes, there is. I believe it's on our packing list. And again, I'm sorry, I don't have that right in front of me. It shouldn't be an issue. It's not like I mean, obviously we know the packing list that we've given everybody. We know what these weight limits are, so it shouldn't be an issue. It's really, it's in place so that along with our, you know, individual body weights, that we have a pretty good judge of what all of these incoming duffels bags are going to be, and that it's not a surprise as we, you know, start loading onto these planes. The pilots make all the decisions of who's going on which plane, and not only who's going on which plane, but where are you going to sit. That's how critical the you know, distributing the weight is. Yeah, yeah. This is I like to describe this trip as totally different than any other trip that we have, because you know, our whole transportation is floating down the river, and the river and the scenery changes as we, you know, as each day goes by. Sometimes we'll see like sheer, you know, canyon cliff sides, and sometimes it's a little bit more open. The types of trees may change. You will see areas that have been burned out by forest fire in previous years, and it can be pretty you know, shocking to see that, you know, how widespread the fire is and how it comes right down to the river. You'll see wildlife along the way. In the past, we've seen a lot of different waterfowl. Obviously, we have seen bald eagles, ospreys, a lot of different types of ducks. We've seen the bighorn sheep come down, a couple of deer, goats, I think. Oh, maybe not bighorn sheep. Maybe they were mountain goats. But anyway, lots of wildlife along the way that we keep an eye out for. Otters, muskrats, possible. Once in a while, you can see fish in the water. If the water's clear. The water, I say if the water's clear, it'd be like, well, why wouldn't the water be clear? We had one year where the week before there was a huge landslide had occurred upstream of where we put into the river, and then all of that, you know, dirt and sediment that comes down from that landslide is going down the river. So then we had, you know, more murky water. So you never know, you know, and it changes every day. It's good. It's great. It's a great trip. This is a good trip to, you know, if I say, like, if you have something that's on your mind, something that you're thinking about, this is a lot of a good think time. But on that regard, I will also tell people at the beginning of the trip, take that worry, just grab it out of your head, throw it in the water, let the water tumble it around, carry it for the next 80 miles, sit back, relax, have fun on the trip, pick it back up at the end of the trip, and, you know, you may have an answer to whatever you've been trying to figure out.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Any other questions? How many people have, oh, go ahead, Christine.
You know, you're saying where they select the campsites, it's probably quieter water. So do people swim?
Yes, yes, great question. Again, it depends on where we stopped. But there are numerous campsites that have like a little well, I'll call it just a swimming hole, a calmer area. I know one year we were at a campsite where you could walk a little bit upstream and swim across, and you were kind of like coming in just after a quieter rapids, but it gave you then enough of a current, and then everybody swam back down to the beach, and they would just walk up along the shore and do that kind of over and over again. On our last night last year, we were at this quiet little a quiet pool. I mean, I'll say it's quiet pool, even though, you know, you're still in this river current. And there were a couple of gals that got in and they did this whole like synchronized swim, you know, silliness and stuff and playing around, and it was great. Yeah, definitely.
Water Carnival, Texas girls.
Yes, there you go. The water cardio. There also are a couple of places where you may have that opportunity when we stop for lunch. Okay. There's a couple of opportunities there. It all depends on where they find a beach to stop at. But yeah.
So you're talking about, you know, fish in the water being clear. Is there any opportunity, like if I brought my mask and snorkel, that I'd benefit from it?
I don't possibly. I don't know that anybody's brought a snorkel before, but that said, there are definitely opportunities again when we're in these flatter stretches to jump off the side and swim along with the raft. Okay, we just have to let our outfitter know, you know, that, hey, I'm going in. You know, so if you wanted to try that with a snorkel, that's a very interesting question. Hasn't come up before, but yeah, you'd probably see some great things. Yeah.
Lori, this is Kathy.
Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask the water temp.
I don't know that off the top of my head. I will get that and put it into
Roughly. Okay.
Yeah. I'll say at this point, refreshing.
I bet.
It's refreshing. But plenty of people go swimming. You know, plenty do.
Okay.
The outfitters, I find this interesting because they'll, if they're having a day that's where it's really warm, and you have to remember they're working almost constantly, right? To get us down the river. If there's a flat stretch, they'll jump in to cool off. And, you know, there we are floating without somebody at the oars, but it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, and they'll jump in to cool off, jump back into the raft. We wear life preservers the entire time you are on the raft, the entire time. Everybody. Yeah. Did I see another question pop up there? Somebody's hand? I don't know if I missed that. Oh, Tara Williams, welcome. We didn't get a chance to for you in on the introductions. Do you want to unmute yourself and give us a quick hello? Are you there? I see Tara's name in there. She's with the Texas group.
Well, Tara's unmuting. I got word for the weight limit on bags is 35 pounds.
Okay. 35. I think that might have been our weight limit for Greenland is too, Christine. Yeah.
There we go.
Except on this trip, we won't have bulky winter clothing. Yeah. There's Tara. Hey, Tara.
I'm the person that couldn't unmute myself.
I couldn't either, Tara. It took me forever.
So yeah, I'm with the Texas group. We've been on Green Adventures trips. We've been on some rafting trips. So what you're saying sounds refreshingly familiar. And the only thing that I don't love is what you call the groover, but peeing in the stream works for me for sure. It's just a fun time, and like I always say, I'm here for the fellowship, and I think we'll have lots of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
We will have lots of fun, and you're not alone in having, you know, thoughts about what this groover is all about. And it seems to generate the most, mystery and questions and uncertainty. But like after a day, like you'll get it. You'll get it. And I for one, I'm like extremely glad that they have something set up that that is so nice to use. That certainly works better than simply finding, some bush in the woods and squatting behind it. So yeah, the groover will be your friend. Do you want to hear a funny story? I was telling you last year that at one point the groover was set up like really close to the river, right? And so I was in the groover and I grabbed the roll of toilet paper and I accidentally dropped it and it unrolled and went right into the river. And I'm like, my first thought was like, oh my gosh, how many rolls of toilet paper do they have with us? And now I've just like ruined this roll of toilet paper. And I will also tell you that your first reaction is to run after it. And then after about 2 steps, you realize that's not a good idea. You're not exactly in the best position to run after this roll of toilet paper that's already ruined anyway. But anyway, I got myself dressed and retrieved the ruined toilet paper from the river, put it in the garbage, and confessed to the outfitters so that they could restock. So
Hey,
yeah,
at least the groovers on that Idaho trip look like they have some kind of cover. We were on the Grand Canyon. There was nothing. It was like you're sitting on the groover out in the middle of nowhere.
oh yeah, you actually, there is a lot of privacy in this thing because it's
That's
those
right,
three
yeah.
sides. There's 3 sides, and the way they position it, you're obviously not facing the camp or anything like that. You might be
Yeah.
facing the river, I suppose another raft could come floating by, but every campsite is dealing with the same thing. So, wave and
Hey,
make it a friend.
we actually had a bucket toilet out in the middle of nowhere for the ladies to use. You're out in the middle of nowhere and everybody's walking by going, oh yeah, I'm going potty. It's okay.
Yep. Yeah, don't worry. We'll all get used to the groover.
That was always our effort too, was to find a campsite that was not next to the groover
Yes.
or on the way to, but not too far away either.
Yeah.
There's method to the madness.
Yep.
Yes, there is.
Yep. And you will understand all of that very quickly. Very quickly. But yeah, at night, we obviously stop at the end of the day with enough daylight to get camp set up. They're prepared if it were to be raining during dinner. They're prepared to put like a big tent or a piece of canvas, I should say, very large pieces of canvas over the kitchen area and over an eating area. And, we're still able to get that all accomplished should we have any rain. I think that has only happened once, maybe twice. And this will be my 5th time down the river. So, we get pretty lucky at this time of year, weather-wise, in that regard. But anyway, so then they're extremely efficient at getting these dinners together. We have a beautiful setting, great dinner. You'll find it very relaxing. And if we have time and if people want, we can get in a couple of games as well. I usually have something packed in my duffel bag. I like games. And again, breakfast is, hot, hearty breakfast. Coffee is ready early. They'll give us a shout when breakfast is ready. They'll tell us every night what time we need to be up in the morning. And that all depends on like how many miles do we have to put behind us that day. A lot of it has to do with the how fast is the river running. They're very much aware of what the level of the river is, how fast it's running, and then that determines how long does it take them to get from one campsite to another. There was one year we weren't able to make it, like this campsite, or I'm sorry, this spot where this picture is taken. We weren't able to stop there one year simply because the river was too low. It did not allow us enough time to get to our final destination that night if we were to stop there. So, and that was the gal that lives on this ranch. She's been living there for about 30 some years. What else? What other questions might you have? If there aren't any more questions, I'll wind this up. I don't take up too much more of your time. Super excited about this. You're going to love it. It's a great trip. Lots of fun. Oh, the city. We didn't talk much about the city of McCall. We take two things. We take a bus, like a school bus, from Salmon to the point where we put into the river. And that's kind of an interesting bus ride all on its own. We start out on the highway and then we switch to a gravel road, and we're on this for quite a ways until we get to the place where we put in the river. And then when we get out of the river, the same thing, a bus is waiting for us. And that takes us through a small town of Riggins to our overnight in McCall. And McCall is a beautiful little town. It's on Lake Payette. And we have enough time in the afternoon to walk around there. They have a lot of beautiful boutique shops, restaurants, things like that. We have a real nice dinner as our last dinner in McCall. And then in the morning, we get up and we have a couple of vans will pick us up and transfer us back to Boise for all of our flights home the next day. So it's a good, kind of a good, rounds up the trip at the very end, wraps it up. All right, if there aren't any other questions, I'm gonna let y'all go. Thanks again for joining us.
Yeah,
For
and
those
then a
of you-
reminder too, right now for the Idaho tour for next year, August 21st through 29th, we have early bird pricing until January 15th. And then we also have our $200 deposit. So it's only $200 right now to save your seat until January 15th. After that, it's our normal deposit. So I can throw the link for those of you who aren't signed up, I can throw the link to our page where you can sign up. I'll put that in the chat here in case anybody wants to grab that real quick. And there you have it. I'm good.
Thanks, Shauna.
So
We need 4 more for sure.
yeah, 3
Yeah.
more is what we've got on the list here.
Oh,
So
3. Okay, great.
seven's confirm, 7's signed up, and then 3 more would confirm it. So
10 to
check with your
confirm.
friends.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it. Yeah, and that $200 deposit, that's amazing. But yeah, watch the
It is.
timing on that. That ends on the 15th.